Hey guys, what's up? Eric here with driverlineup.com, which is brand new, by the way. We just made some major upgrades, so check it out. World's okayest steering wheel holder.
World's most freaked out co-pilot today.
World's most freaked out co-pilot. She got a call today that we're going to tell you about in a minute that absolutely panicked her. Panicked us both, actually. We were both freaking the hell out.
It rocked my world.
I'm talking about a phone call where you expect that your career is about to end, or the way you run the truck. Everything is about to completely change for us. But more on that after the intro. I do want to really quickly give a shout out to something that we're piecing together. If you click in the description below, open up the description below the video, I'll also pin a comment with it. We have a newsletter that's firing up for Driver Lineup. It's going to be a weekly newsletter. It's covering everything from freight rates, industry news, you name it. Get on that newsletter. It is exclusive to Driver Lineup subscribers, followers. I mean, it's just our stuff, you know. And I'm really looking forward to that. And we're also launching a podcast with Crazy Bags, Travis Kenley, Matt with his new channel, No Luck Trucking, and probably a few others. That podcast is going to be available wherever you get your podcast beginning in April. So really excited about that. So make sure that you're on the list so that you get those updates. Now let's talk about how Jenna
Had a stroke today.
had a stroke and thought that she somehow failed a drug test that was going to be sent to the clearinghouse and basically be career ending. We'll get to that in just a second. Okay, so let me set this up and then we'll let her explain what happened. I don't want to get in, I'll let her get into the details of the call. But just to set it up, you guys, I've had 1 or 2 random drug tests.
I've had 6 or 7.
Yeah, she's had a lot of drug tests. I think I've had 1 or maybe 2 since I've been driving for Prime. So for me, like 1 per year is what I get, you know, not a lot. She's had a whole bunch. She got like 4 of them within 4 months.
Mm-hmm. It was 4 in a row, and when the whole thing started.
4 in a row when the whole clearinghouse thing started. And, you know, they go off without hitch. We never hear anything again, because why should we, right? We don't do drugs. We don't have any reason for like being concerned. You know, we don't do anything that would make us concerned. The only time that I've ever been somewhat like is when we were in a hotel once and somebody was smoking reefer
Down the
hall.
We had to like walk through the hall,
Yeah.
and we're like, oh my God.
We were super paranoid about it, you know, like, and I know just because you smell it doesn't mean that you're inhaling THC, but it made us really paranoid.
It was rather skunky.
Yeah, but that's the only time really, you know, it's ever even crossed our minds of, you know, is this something that could hurt us? But I mean, normally just taking a drug test, nothing, we never hear anything. There's no follow-up. You just go pee in the cup, move on with your life. You know, if you don't do stupid shit, you don't have anything to worry about, or so we thought. So today, Jenna gets a phone call and comes in. I'm just giving you guys my perspective real quick, and then we'll jump to her, because I'm sitting on my computer working at the house, which, by the way, we have the truck back obviously, so about to go take that home. But anyway, sitting at my computer at the house, and she comes in on the phone just panicked, giving her name, information, and it's a call from the third-party place that deals with the DOT,
examiner.
like the central, you know, like HQ for all this stuff. And that's a call you never ever want to get. So Jenna gets a call, and here's what happens.
Well, to make it worse, I'm fiddling around with our alarm at the house. So the only reason I answered this 1-800 number is I thought it was the alarm system, because I just like changed the batteries in something and the alarm goes off and whatever. I don't answer 1-800 numbers because it's normally, you know, your car's extended warranty. So I answer thinking it's the alarm company, and they're like, you know, is this, you know, blah blah blah, like my legal name? Yes. okay, we need your specimen ID number or your social security card or social security number. And I'm like, wait, what is this exactly? And they're like, this is blah 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 company that does the drug testing, you know, for Prime Inc. We need to get you on the phone with a doctor right now so he could go over the results. My heart just sank, because they're not calling me to say, hey, your piss results came in, you won a free Corvette.
They wouldn't call you for,
yeah,
if you pass, you don't hear anything.
Right, like you just never hear anything. And I'm like, oh my god. So they're like, okay, we need to have you listen to this recording, and then at the end of the recording you need to say yes, that you acknowledge everything that it said. And it's like this whole thing that's basically like, this is being recorded, you are doing an interview with a, you know, DOT certified medical examiner and whatever. The results of this test that we're about to go over with you are being reported to the clearinghouse and may have implications for your employment and blah blah blah, like this whole thing. And I'm like, I'm getting fired today for something I like didn't even do, you know, like I'm literally freaking out. So I come into the room and I'm like, Eric, somehow like they're not calling me to tell me I, you know, won a free boat or a cruise. Like somehow I failed my drug test as this recording's going on. And so he's like, no, it's a scam, you know, like Prime would never call him. Like, it's not Prime. And he's like, but you know, nobody's ever going to call you and ask for all your information, because they're like, we need to confirm your driver's license, what state your CDL is issued in, like, you know, medical card info. Like, I was freaking out. So I finally get through all these hoops, and the doctor gets on the phone and he's like, okay, so you're agreeing to do an interview, you know, and denying to do the interview. Like, if you deny doing the interview and stuff, like, this can have consequences for your employment. And I'm like, look, just get to the point, because I'm about to have a stroke here. Like, what's wrong? And he's like, okay, well, hold on. He's like, I sense you're about to have a stroke, so let's, you know, go over it. He's like, it's gonna be fine because you're agreeing to answer and talk. He's like, and we can find a medical explanation for what happened. But long story short, when I took my test on the 13th of last month, I took my random. We came back 6 days later because of the weather or whatever, and I was asked again when I was coming through driver lineup. I was told I have a random and I need to come in, and I'm like, but I just did it on the 13th. And they're like, oh, well, somebody must not have cleared it off the system. We'll go ahead and take care of that because I produced my receipt. Well, the reason why I was asked to pee again is driver lineup lost my pee. So driver
not our
lineup,
channel, obviously. For those who don't drive for Prime, driver lineup is like Grand Central Station, where information comes to, goes from. So yeah. So anyways,
they lost my pee. Apparently found it on the 1st, sent it on the 1st of this month. So by the time it goes through transit and gets to the analysis place, the pH has now gone up.
Because it's been 2 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's almost a month by the time they get it. So the pH has gone up to literally the mark of where the threshold is, where they cut it off. They said your pH can't be any higher than 9.0, and it was 9, or it has to be
below
less
9.
than 9.0.
Yeah.
And it was 9. So hence why they're having this interview with me, because what that says to them is that they said, like, if they would have got it in appropriate time for when it was taken,
it means you cheated.
And it was like that, yeah, it's a cheated test. So the fact that there's been weeks in between means that clearly it was lost in transit and whatever. Because he's like, I'm looking at this, like, you know, I see all this stuff, like, you're good to go. You know, he's like, I just have to ask, you know, and do this interview to be able to sign you off and do it. Like, then they put it as a canceled test. Because clearly it was either lost in transit or something had happened. But yeah, like it literally looked like it was a fake pee, or a pee that, you know, was kept in the freezer or something like that. I nearly had a stroke. And we did learn a lot from this guy, where he explained that pretty much all of our fears of, like, a false positive, how that's nearly impossible, you know, and what the benefits are of the clearinghouse and everything like that. But
yeah, he said in his 5 years of working at that place doing what he's done, he's only seen one false positive, and it was like a crazy situation. So Jenna ended up talking to him for a long time
because he was genuinely concerned for how stressed out I was and wanted to make me feel better.
because here's the thing, like I even chimed in when she put him on speaker, and I was like, I'm gonna be honest with you had us freaked out, not because we're concerned about whether or not we can pass a drug test. Of course we can pass a drug test. There's nothing in our systems that would fail us for a drug test. But what if it was a false positive? Because there's not shit you can do. And he explained the only thing you can do is you can request through DOT to have it retested, the same sample, which
elsewhere and retested.
Which that's encouraging to me, because like if there's not drugs positive, if you're not having a positive, there's nothing in your system and in your pee, you should be totally comfortable with asking for a retest. But just the nightmare that that the clearinghouse would have had a positive, even though we firmly believe that if they were calling with a positive test, that it could not possibly have been real, because we're not positive for drugs, So I told him, I was like, we were freaked out, not because we thought that we got caught for anything, but freaked out because if it did,
how do you fight it?
What do you do? I mean, it's career ending, And I was just like sitting there going, oh my God, like if this really somehow happened, like in my mind, I'm like, I don't know if she could get back on the truck today, which we got to leave tonight. So it's just, that is a call you do not want to get, man. And I tell you guys,
it's a call if you do get it. I mean, obviously verify that they're
the
real
call.
People, but yeah, and if you're concerned with it, you can if you don't want to provide them information and stuff, you can get Prime involved to be able to conference call somebody in to get the results or whatever. But if you're worried about it being a scam, but that is a call that you really do need to take, because if you don't do the interview with them where they can ask you, yes or no questions and rule things out, you might have a problem.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this was not our fault, but they still need to ask some questions so that they can cover their end and verify that it's not your fault when something like this happens. But let me tell you guys as a warning, and we're gonna bring this to a close, but just tell you guys as a warning, and I know I've seen a lot of questions on YouTube videos of, what kind of testing do they do, all this stuff. Man, I've said this before. If you're getting into a trucking career, knock it off. Just stop. And these tests, especially after, I already knew this, but especially after this conversation today, they are getting very sophisticated, like substantially more sophisticated than they were 5 years ago. Like and
it's about to advance even more.
Yeah, and it's about to get even more sophisticated. So, don't be on YouTube and on Facebook groups and on our social app asking, hey, what kind of tests, just knock it off. Just quit. Like, it's not,
If you're trying fake urine, you're going to get busted. If
yeah,
they're going to know. Somebody else's urine, you're going to get busted.
They are going to know. They're going to know if that urine has been frozen or sitting on a table in your house for 3 or 4 days because it's somebody, they're going to know. I'm telling you guys, she talked to him for probably 35-40 minutes that she didn't have to. He was just curious. He was curious about us and our careers. She was curious about him and was just curious about this whole process. And I'm telling you guys, you cannot cheat this. Don't F around. It's just, and you shouldn't be anyway, I mean, look, we're both for legalization of pot. There's, in my mind,
really?
Yeah, I'm just going to totally say it. Not that I'm saying that I want to smoke. I'm just saying it's ridiculous that people are going to jail for a joint. I have no, I think it's absolutely absurd that pot is illegal. That said, you should not be smoking pot on your home time or off your home time if you're driving a commercial vehicle. It's not just your life, it's everybody else's life. And I'm not saying it can affect your driving. I'm just saying, just be a professional, Yeah, we're steering wheel holders, but be grown up, make, like I say, make good decisions. It's just not there's more important things, So I'm ranting and raving. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you kind of really off track on
yeah,
that.
but hey, you guys like my rants, so But anyway, the point is, we got really freaked out today, really panicked for no reason at all.
But I mean, it's just like the most terrifying idea that I thought that there could have been a false positive, or because somebody clearly left my pee sitting somewhere.
Or did it get tampered with? Or the way he was talking about it made us feel as if it got swapped with somebody else's, or it got tampered with, and they weren't really sure about the results. That's the way it sounded at first. And we were like,
until
what
I
the
answer
F?
questions, and it's like medically, it's like some gross questions, that we gotta ask, but and then I'm like, no, and he's like, okay, like, you're fine, and at that point he's laughing at me and just trying to like get me to calm down. He's like, I can tell you're about to have a stroke. I'm gonna just explain to you how all this works. And but it was terrifying, because like that, if I didn't answer the phone and answer the questions, like they have no way to verify what they see, like, because it's obvious to them that, okay, this test is old and this is why it needs to be thrown out. But if I didn't answer, then they're kind of in this position with, now what do we do with it, because we don't have somebody to substantiate what we saw happen, and there's a good medical explanation. Like, I could have feasibly lost my job.
They didn't even know why it was delayed. All they know is it got to them late.
Little piece where I could explain.
And she has the receipt that shows the day that she actually went and tested. So the day that she did her part, which was go pee in the cup, that day, between that day and the day that they actually got the sample and tested it, was like forever. Well, that has nothing to do with her.
3 weeks.
It's not her fault. But they didn't know that. All they know is they got the sample much later than they should have, and didn't know why. So it's anyway, you guys, man, like, just don't mess around with it, guys. Don't mess around with it. It's not worth it for your career, and don't be asking questions in YouTube channels. Does Prime follicle test, or don't do that. Like, do you think that Prime's not what, Prime sees that stuff too, you guys. Don't do it. Anyway, Jenna is still driving with Prime. She's still drug free. Like, the only thing we take is a leave. We don't even take, like,
well, and he was laughing at me. He like, one of the questions is, do you take any sort of like, he's like, not to be too gross, but like, one of the questions they had to check off is, do you take any sort of medication, supplement, or anything that, while rare, could cause your urine to look darker or altered? And I'm like, I drank an obscene amount of coffee.
Yeah.
And he just laughed, and he was like, yeah, well, who works full-time doesn't, but I mean,
yeah, we don't.
Every scenario was like running.
We don't have or take any prescription drugs. We don't have or take any, like, it literally a leave Excedrin, for occasional headaches, like back pain, nothing. So, anyway, good times as always. Hey, we got our truck. Video about that coming tonight. I'll tell you guys what happened. They fixed something else that we've been begging to be fixed. Allegedly. I'll find out here shortly. But we got our truck back, so we're going to be rolling tonight or tomorrow morning. Today's Tuesday. So, check in with you guys soon. Thanks so much. Be safe. Make good decisions. Stay drug-free. And as always, drive and thrive. Talk to you guys soon.